What is up, Jabronis? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets, talking a little MLB Live, Saturday, June 18th. Want to do this video later because baseball has all these late start times now, and they don't do any games at 1, and now they start a game at 2, and it's like always the Cubs for whatever the fuck reason. However, I do have a first birthday party to be at, so that's at 1:30, I think, 2 o'clock, either way. Either way, we are here. In the flesh, blinking like 100 times. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Camera's like shining in my eye. Wow, pretty exhilarating win yesterday, right? With the total, that thing seemed dead to rights. I'll tell you, it's nice to get those for sure, because we definitely have our fair share of games we lose like that. But and by the way, I'm referencing that over 9.5 in the Boston Cardinals game with 3 or 4 runs in the 9th inning. But needless to say, you always got to try to keep a rational mind, right? Because that stuff evens out. The games that maybe you should win that you lose, or the games that you should lose that you win. So, just kind of keeping yourself objective in that sense. But needless to say, we take those, right? I know it's a little late, it's 12 o'clock, but we still got the coffee. So no complaints. Cystoscopy went really good yesterday. Nothing bad, no foul play, if you will. So we move forward. Run pure. Onto today's slate. Interesting slate, right? It's not super warm today. It was much warmer yesterday. I mean, granted, there's some spots where it's warm, sure, but definitely a little bit of a 180 from what it was yesterday. So we'll talk through it. We'll talk through these games, and we'll give out some bets, and we will end the show. Okay, there's your chapters for those that need like a table of contents. All right, let's begin. So, also, chat's a little quiet today. I know there's like 13 or 14 of you watching. Too shy to say hello? Here, let me show you how to do it. Hold on. Hello. Right? Not difficult. Not fucking difficult, folks. Also, you could like the video. I can't tell from here how many likes the video has because we do this through StreamYard, but feel free to like the video. Don't be a jerk off. What's up, Melvin? Joey Work does the show with me on Sundays. But tomorrow's Father's Day. I have to check in with him. I'm not sure if he's going to be available. So I'll have to confirm. I know Holden, who is a father, is unavailable. I'm sure he's doing something very sophisticated, because that fits his profile, right? What's up, Piter, Twig, Leroy? All right, so let's just dive on in, right? Okay, so Cubs and the Braves. The Braves, what a team, right? I mean, Jesus. I mean, it's obviously people go streaking in baseball, and their streak came to an end yesterday, but what a run from them. I mean, granted, of course, the way they lose is they score 0 runs. That is the way to lose a baseball game. But would they win 14 or 15 in a row? It was their first loss in the month of June. Just an incredible run from them. But obviously, look, we know they have the talent to do these types of things. Question is, with these types of streaks, does this, kind of median itself out, and maybe they play a little poorly over the next few games, weeks, whatever. But needless to say, that team is super talented up and down. Their lineup, I mean, top to bottom, is definitely one of the best in the majors. Want to talk about the lineup with very few outs or very few free outs. They're going to face Justin Steele here, a lefty who's vulnerable versus right-handed bats, so this could be a bounce back spot for them. However, Kyle Wright, I don't know if you guys watch him pitch. I'm just not a Kyle Wright guy. I know he finds his way out of jams, and I know he relatively stays above water in most of his starts. I watch him get beat up by bad teams. It seems like consistently. But granted, maybe, he's just a guy that pitches, I guess to the teams, if you will. His advanced numbers are okay. They're not on par with what he's doing on a surface level with his ERA and such. But, he's facing a Cubs lineup today. It's likely not going to test him. And the wind, I don't know if the wind's blowing in at Wrigley, but it's going to be chilly at Wrigley. It is actually blowing in at Wrigley about 10, 11 miles. So it is going to be tough to put a ball in the seats today in that type of weather. But needless to say, I'm going to be off this game. I think, you could take the approach of, maybe we'll bet the Braves until they lose 2 games in a row. Maybe you'll bet the Braves on a bounce back spot. Steele's not a bad arm though. Granted, he struggles a bit with righties, but he's not a bad arm. He will be tested today, of course. But it's an easy pass spot for me. I don't want to touch this Braves team. I don't think Kyle Wright deserves to be minus 200 on the road against anyone. But again, I'm a little biased there. And Steele's okay. He definitely has strikeout potential. But again, I'm a little concerned about how much he'll be tested. And the Cubs don't score runs. So like there's that angle as well. So it's an easy pass spot for me. Let's move on. So Blue Jays, Yanks. Yesterday it was nice to get home for the Run Pure Bets crew. A first 5 over a 4.5. I don't want to say it seemed dead to rights because there was a lot of innings with multiple guys on base where runs weren't scored, but it definitely had that kind of feeling. I'll tell you this though: the Yankees have won 15 of 16 games. I mean, they're very similar to the Braves in that aspect. They just continue to churn out wins. I mean, this team's 32 games over 500, and we're 60 games into the season, 70 games into the season. Just incredible. I mean, just absolutely incredible. They're doing it with pitching, doing it with starting pitching, they're doing it with hitting, they're doing it with the fielding, they're doing it with their bullpen, just doing everything they need to do to win baseball games. And their lineup obviously is as good as any when healthy. And it seems like I'm kind of like a curse for some of these guys in a positive way, I guess. So maybe not a curse. Like when a player is playing so poorly that they go on my radar on the Yankees, it seems like that's when they start to pick up. I mean, I was brutalizing Aaron Hooks for like a week, and now this dude's just, smashing the ball. I was crushing Joey Gallo for weeks, and now this dude's starting to hit dongs again. So it's been, it's been a fun team to watch. And granted, I'm not a Yankee homer by any means. I'm not a fan. I actually kind of like when they're losing, to be honest, because I hear less about it on the local radio here. But, kudos to them. Much respect. They've been playing really well. Now, they draw the Blue Jays here, and you may be wondering why the Blue Jays are favored in this spot. The Yankees have won a ton of games in a row. I'll tell you this. Manoah has earned a lot of market respect in the betting world. And he is, I say this time and time again about him. I truly believe he's the best pitcher in baseball against right-handed bats. He's absolutely brutal to right-handed bats. Obviously, he comes from the right side, but just filthy stuff from that angle. I don't know what off the top of my head what weighted OBA is versus him. It can't be good at all. And we know the Yankees lineup is filled with right-handed bats. So there's that angle, right? With that said, the Yankees are just playing super confident baseball these days. And Taillon, I'm not a super Taillon guy. I even back to his Pittsburgh days, I just haven't been a big proponent of him. He's okay. He's definitely serviceable. I think he gets bailed out a bit by the Yankees scoring him runs, and I think building on his confidence, which is great. But he is a guy that finds himself in a few too many jams. Granted, I know I might come off like somebody who's a little bit of a hard on with some of these pitchers, but like I have like my 5 to 10 pitchers that I consider are elite in the bunch. And the rest to me are just a bunch of mediocre guys that go through spurts of good pitching and go through spurts of bad pitching. To me, Taillon is maybe slightly above mediocre. Manoah is a really good arm, especially against right-handed bats. Where you want to struggle with, where you're going to struggle with him is if he faces a team with a ton of lefties. He's likely to get himself in a little bit of trouble, but he is really good and young. Likely going to be around for a while. As for this spot, look, I'd argue maybe some value on the Jays, but I'm absolutely not stepping in front of this Yankees train, not with the way they're playing and not with their bullpen and not with the confidence they're playing with. So I want no part of that. And as far as the over or under, to me, you had a total of 9 yesterday with 2 average at best arms. And here you have 2 better arms and the total only dropped half a run. With that in mind, that I'd argue for some value on the under here. I don't love it, though. It will be a little chilly over in Canada, and wind's going to be blowing severely in. But with that said, I don't love the spot. Again, you got to line up a bunch of beefy bats, and you're going to bet a first 5 of 4, 4.5. You got to have things go right for you, or have at least a few extra edges in your favor. I don't mind the full game under, though. I really don't. But again, I'll pass. Giants, Pirates. So we switch over to the 4:00 games. Let me just check the chat real quick. What's up? What's up, Tom? Joey, Brooklyn. Maybe can I guess where you're from? Also, nothing wrong with Brooklyn. Fuck around with Brooklyn. Love it. Vegas, Bruce. Love it. Liam, it's happening. Parabay. Mitch. What's up, Snyder? Sean, Jordan. Play yesterday, but cash on Cleveland. Yeah, I love the big balls bet on the Guardians there. Seems like a lot of people like to fade Kershaw, which, hey, kudos. Bet hit, and congrats to that. And again, Leroy, I just kind of mentioned on the total for the Yanks, so I probably saw this question late, but I kind of brought that up. And I mean, right now Mitchell Snyder is somewhere at home or maybe at a brothel with a gigantic hard-on because his boy Kyle Morikawa is absolutely crushing it. Love to see it. You love to fucking see it. So kudos, Mitch, and hopefully your boy closes out for you, because you might be the biggest fanboy of Morikawa. He doesn't even know it, but you literally might be the biggest fanboy he has. So keep up the good work. All right, so let's move on. Pirates, Giants, Jose Quintana, Alex Wood. So 2 journeyman lefties. Alex Wood's obviously better at this point in his career than Quintana. Quintana's starting the regression train, right? He had a really good first month and a half, and he's kind of slowly but surely been giving up more and more runs. This Giants team is not as built to hit right-handed bats as they once were. They have a few lefty mashers still, but as of like 2 years ago, where they were like historically good versus left-handed pitching, it's just not the case anymore. With that said, PNC is definitely more of a pitcher's park. Total 8.5. It's not going to be super warm out there. However, 2 susceptible pitchers like this, especially from the left side. I don't like betting unders with 2 arms like this. With that said, though, definitely not betting the over here. As far as this line goes, it's probably a little padded in favor of the Giants. But I don't want any piece of Quintana. Now, granted, maybe you could target like the Pirates bats, but it's not like that's been very gratuitous this season. I like betting the Pirates bats when I can get them at like a flat 3 on a team total. Here you're going to have to get 3.5. And I don't love it. I don't bet a lot of Alex Wood games either. I just think he's a tough pitcher to figure out. Again, he's very crafty, not going to blow anybody away. And when he's on his location, he's very good. When he's not, he's just not very good against any team. So, for me, I do think there's a little baggage here if you're betting the Giants at this number, but I don't love it enough on the other side to bet the Pirates, so it's an easy pass. Orioles, Rays. So Jeffrey Springs, who's an absolute freak, especially versus right-handed bats, even though he comes from the left side. And Kyle Bradish has been bad, but certainly not as bad as he's looked, especially at a surface level. This line, Tampa Bay minus 160, I would argue for some slight value on Baltimore here, primarily because I don't know if these platoon splits will catch up to Jeffrey Springs or not, but the Orioles will bring a ton of righties at him. But again, like you look at his advanced stuff, he might be the best left-hander against right-handed bats in all of baseball, believe it or not. But against lefties, he gets absolutely mashed somehow. So, figure that out. And Bradish has been tough to watch, but like the Rays don't really hit. Like they don't have any type of danger. Like 1 through 3 is okay. Like it's above average, I guess. But like once you get to like 4 or 5 and down the rest, this order sucks. Like this offense sucks. So when you bet the Rays, you're really kind of hoping for production from the top of the order. And it's kind of like the Red Sox, I guess, in that respect. But the Red Sox at least have like a deeper lineup. Like at least the Red Sox go to like 6 deep, between Trevor Story and when Vertigo's healthy. I guess maybe they're more like the Angels, maybe 1 through 4. But they're just tough to watch. And like I said, their 1 through 4 hitters aren't like amazing either. So when you bet the Rays, you're really hoping for a good pitching performance. And you might get it from Springs today. Again, a guy who's pretty dominant versus right-handed bats, and that's what the Orioles mainly have. Orioles do poke a few lefties around in there, though. I mean, Mullins and Santander. But needless to say, this is a tough game to cap. Again, I used to last year just kind of blindly bet the O's versus left-handed pitching. But it's been a little different this year. They haven't had as much success. Their weighted OBA is not as good as it was against left-handed pitching. And again, Springs is brutal. So I just have too many arrows going different directions in this game. So it winds up being a pass. I think Tampa's getting a little respect here, though, a little too much respect. But with that said, I'm not looking to fade Springs in this spot. So it's a pass. Athletics, Royals. This will be a best bet for me. I bet the Royals first 5 here. No, hold on. I bet the Royals full game here. Because I remember when I was looking into this game, the Royals, believe it or not, have like a decent pen. I don't want to say it's great, but it's definitely decent. I think it's better than you would expect from a team with 41 losses and 22 wins. And I think Keller's been rough, but Keller's been really rough against left-handed bats. He's going to see a lot of right-handed bats here. And Cole Irvin, speaking of right-handed bats, he gets absolutely mauled versus right-handed bats. And I do like that the Royals kind of strung together a few wins in a row here. Their bats are clicking a little bit. Because if you look at this lineup, it's not bad. Up and down, it's really not. The Athletics lineup, you look at that lineup and you're like, holy shit. It's no surprise that they're, as bad as they are. The Royals, though, especially when you throw a left-handed pitcher at them, their lineup's really not bad. And I think in this spot, Cole Irvin getting respect to me is kind of wild. To me, the Royals are a better team than the Athletics. And I know that their records are practically equal. And I know that Brad Keller's been awful. But like I get a pitcher who I think on any given day can outpitch Cole Irvin. I get a better lineup here. I get a better bullpen here. And I get all of that. And I get a team that's kind of stringing together a few wins in a row here. All of that for minus 105. Thank you very much. Actually, I think FanDuel was 104, right? Yeah, FanDuel I got at 104. That might still be available. So yeah, it's not like your typical sexy play. But I mean, granted, it's not like I ever give you like sexy plays anyway. But I do really like the Royals today to win. They've been playing better baseball than the Athletics. I know it's over a short stretch, but again, you kind of got to pick what you can get in the sport. And for me, in a spot where I truly believe the Royals should be like minus 115 here, minus 120. The fact that I can get them at minus 104, and again, when we break through it, I'd argue starting pitching at best is a coin flip. I have the better lineup, and I have the better bullpen, and I'm getting that all for minus 104. So I will happily take that, and did earlier. That was at FanDuel, by the way. I think that number should be available because I didn't bet that too long ago. I bet that like a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago. So, yeah, again, maybe you could wait on it. I would expect the Athletics to take money here because people hate Brad Keller. But Brad Keller has upside. And I'll tell you this, again, I am not a Cole Irvin guy. I know Irvin's surface stuff looks good, but he's a fucking gas can. Like, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to go through this live here. So Cole Irvin, for the Cole Irvin slappies that exist, Cole Irvin is rocking a 5.20 xERA, for those wondering, 4.3 xFIP. And his splits are quite egregious. How about a cool 3.23 weighted OBA versus right-handed pitching? Now, granted, he is a better pitcher at home, but I mean, it's not hard to pitch in that park, right? That's like one of the best pitchers parks in all of baseball. I look at it like I get a team in the Royals that who they can hit is left-handed pitching with all their righty sticks. And I know Brad Keller is a bit of variance in this spot, but you know, I have a guy who in Cole Irvin who doesn't strike anybody out, who walks over 2 per 9. I'd expect the Royals to put some pressure on him, and if we can get a little confidence to Keller, he's going to have a good start coming. Because I've said this about Keller before, he is tough to watch, but he's got good stuff. And you put him against a righty heavy lineup like the Athletics, it's a spot where theoretically speaking, in a pitcher's park, he could perform well. So I do like the spot here. I think there's a chance we get Keller to outperform Irvin here. And then on the back end, again, all game long, we have the better lineup and we do have the better pen. So yeah, like the Royals in this spot. So as far as my favorite underdog play, Richie, I will have a better one, actually. I mean, I have one I like more, if you will, an underdog play. It's going to be a first 5 though, but we'll get to that game. But yeah, definitely Royals. I fired on them earlier. So let's move on. Astros, White Sox. So Verlander, Cueto. Kudos to Cueto, right? I mean, this dude continues to kind of like revive himself and be serviceable in baseball. I feel like he's been pitching for like 30 years. But kudos to him. And speaking of kudos, Justin Verlander, what an absolute freak. I mean, his ERA is 1.9. And believe it or not, like he gave up 3 runs in a game a few weeks ago. In like the 7th inning, when arguably he should have been taken out of the game before that. So his ERA could be even lower, and he could have had another win because he didn't get the win from that game. Might have actually even gotten a loss from that game. I don't remember. I think that was against the Athletics, believe it or not. Here, minus 250. Do you want to like 250 with Houston? I mean, God bless you. They're quietly 16 games over 500, and they've been going through a bit of a dry spell, at least as of like a week ago they were. What is going on with the White Sox? So this team is way too talented to be 2 games under 500. But I guess it goes to show you the parity in baseball, right? There's just a lot of teams, or disparity, if you will. There's just a lot of teams that are playing above their means and a lot of teams playing below their means. And it's creating a lot of friction at the top of some of these standings. And we'll get to the Mets in the next game because they've also been phenomenal. But on this spot, I don't like anything in this spot. I think the Astros are likely here about 235, but so you're paying a little extra tax on them in this spot with Verlander. Cueto's been okay, but we know he's susceptible. He's not exactly like he's going to mow down a lineup, with strikeouts. So he's likely to get himself into some jams today. Can the White Sox hit Verlander? Maybe on any given day, right? With the sticks they have, but they're going through their own flavor of a dry spell. So yeah, I don't love anything about this game. I think the line's about right, and I think the total's perfectly right. So it's an easy pass. Mets Marlins, Taijuan Walker. I'll be honest, like I like Taijuan Walker. However, I don't like him when he's on the road. He is at home indefinitely more of a pitcher's park in Citi Field. But man, this is a big line for the Mets. Now, granted, they've earned it. With between their lineup and their lineup is another team. I mean, they're another lineup that they quietly don't have any free outs in their lineup either. And think about it, like how many like dry streaks have the Mets had this year? Like, I mean, when was the last time they lost 3 games in a row? We go down here. I mean, they've lost 2 games in a row occasionally, but they just continue to churn out wins. And I've always been a Buck Showalter guy. I feel like if you look back at his career, he built up some really good teams. He did it in Texas. I think people forget, like that Texas team with their bats back then. They had Josh Hamilton and Hank Blaylock, maybe. They also had a really good second baseman. They had a decent outfield. They had sticks all over the place in Texas. And just when they got like really good, that was when they canned Showalter. And then even like in his Orioles days, like he built up a really good squad in Baltimore with Manny Machado and all them when they were really young. And then like they got really good. And then like they just had like these high expectations of Showalter. I guess maybe he rubs players the wrong way. I don't know him personally, obviously, and I don't know what his schematics are, but I do know if you look at his track record, he's built up some really good squads. This time around, he inherited a really good squad. And they're playing good baseball, and despite not having Scherzer and DeGrom, which is just incredible, so kudos to them. Just wanted to talk on that real quick, but Taijuan Walker's a guy I do prefer at home. This line's probably where it should be though. I don't have any favor here. I don't think this is short, but I also don't think it's big either. Braxton Garrett's okay. I mean, sample size is relatively small. So the Mets can hit anybody though. They have, and granted they really match lefties, but they can hit anybody. So, I think this line's right. And I think the total is probably a little low, to be honest, but not enough for me to want to fire. So it's a pass. Reds Brewers. It's interesting with this whole Brewers rotation. Obviously you have Burns, but like once you get past them, they have some interesting arms. And Jason Alexander's one of them where, what is there to say about him, right? I mean, I think the sample size is still small. I think he's less than 20 innings at this point, but he's been good. He's been really good. The advanced stuff is not as good, though. He's getting himself into a lot of foot traffic trouble. So when does that come to a head? Maybe today. And as for Ashcraft on the Red side, I mean, what more can you ask for from a Red starting pitcher? The guy just gets himself outs, and he's been really good. He's been eating innings. Now, granted, his last start against the Cards, he got a little mauled up, but he's been good. He's been even better at home. So this is a good spot starter when you think about it. Between Alexander kind of running a little pure, if you will, and Ashcraft just being a lead at home. It's a good spot for the Reds here, but I don't love it. Again, I've said this time and time again. I don't think you're going to make money this year betting the Reds when they're a -110 coin flip. So, I don't love, that's why I don't love the spot. I think I said this like early in the year, like if you're going to bet the Reds every time they're -110, I just don't think you're going to make yourself money this year. Granted, you might not make yourself money fading them at -110 either. But with that said, this spot makes sense because, again, there's a pretty decent pitching matchup in their favor here. So I could see it, but again, just kind of trying to stick to my principles, and that's kind of why I stayed away. But I could see both angles on this game. That's a good point, John. You got Peralta and Woodruff on the IL. Woodruff's a freak, but these guys for your team, John, have been really plugging away and doing well enough. So. As a Brewers fan, as I know you are, you can't. How much can you really complain? There's 6 games over, and you're dealing with injuries all over the place. Yelich hasn't even been close to Yelich, so I think the Brewers are likely due for a run at some point. But they've been. I think they've been playing pretty well, all things considered. What's up, Nathan? Hope all is well, my man. Sox team total, and they scored 3 in the first. These types of bets are brutal. I think they happen to all of us, right? I mean, there's no way you can avoid it, right? You bet a team total, you get 3 quick runs or 4 quick runs. Let's say the total's 4.5 or 3.5. In your case, 3.5. You get 3 quick, and then you just stall out. It's absolutely brutal. I I'd rather have a game and get shut out all game than have that happen. But needless to say, such is life in baseball with no shot clock, right? Anything could happen. What's up, Sakratar? All right, so let's move on. Rangers, Tigers. Taylor Hearn continues to be an enigma to me anyway. This is a guy that has so much upside, but just gets rocked like so often and so much more than he should be. On the Rangers end, they're slowly starting to churn away some wins, right? This team's kind of coming around. Their sticks are coming around. I've said this kind of like all season. This team is dangerous for us left-handed pitching. We kind of know that, right? With all their righty-heavy lineups. Now today they're going to see Garcia. It's more of like a glorified bullpen guy. I mean, if you could even call him that, he's, I guess, kind of just like a bullpen guy. But they do try to get him some pitches. I think he maybe throws like 80 or so pitches, I think. So I guess glorified bullpen guy is probably makes sense. Taylor Hearn, though, is frustrating because he's going to face the lineup today with a bunch of righty sticks. The interesting thing with the Tigers is like this team has absolutely no pop. Like Baez has been playing like shit. He's been dropped to like the bottom half of the order. And this lineup, again, they just like who scares you in this lineup, especially from a power perspective. So, if you score runs against the Tigers, it's hard for the Tigers to win games when their opponent scores runs because they just don't. So like the Tigers really need to win games that are like 3-0, 3-2, 3-1. I mean, you score more than 4 runs against the Tigers. I don't know what their record is, but I can't imagine. I got to imagine it's brutal when you score 4 runs against the Tigers, what the Tigers record is. And that has more to do with their lineup. And their pitching's not great either. Their bullpen's not great. On the Rangers end, I've mentioned this before, their bullpen's starting to median out. They had a historical run in the beginning. Their bullpen is still good, but remember, their bullpen had a historical start to the season. So that's starting to really kind of median itself. But overall, this game is very tough to handicap because I do think this line's right. I think Texas should be a small favorite here. Hearn's been good. Definitely not at a surface level per se, but you watch him pitch, he definitely fits the eye test. And again, who's really going to threaten him on this team and the Tigers? So, I think that, if the Tigers are going to string together hits against Hearn, fine, but, they don't do that against really anybody. So, call it a small lean in favor of the Tigers. I don't love the spot, though. I think the Rangers should be a small favorite here, just not that big of a favorite, I guess. But it's tough to bet on the Tigers anyway. They're just a tough team to watch, so easy pass. Speaking of tough team to watch, the Angels and the Mariners. So Chris Flexen and Patrick Sandoval. I do think that I actually don't know if this is going to be the pitching matchup. I know it says this on ESPN. I've seen different pitching matchups for this game. I mean, I'll talk on this as if they are the pitching matchup, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. Chris Flexen. Oh, this is also a doubleheader, which makes it even worse, I guess. Chris Flexen is I don't even know what to make of him. Like I had high aspirations of him coming in, but he's been like tough to watch. Again, he's not a big K guy. He's going to rely on being crafty, but the good part for him is this Angels team somehow, some way is not hitting. Imagine thinking Joe Madden was the problem with this team. So it's very difficult. And I said this last week that I thought the Angels were going to go on a run, not so much because of them losing Joe Madden, but because this team is too talented and they're starting to hang the same type of lines they were when this team had no bats. Like I always love when people like make remarks on like last 10 game, last 12 game stats. But when you go back like 5 games ago, this whole lineup for the Angels looked completely different. Trout was sitting. Rendon was out. Taylor Ward was out. You want to talk about wins above replacement. These guys are like easily worth combined like 12 to 13 wins above replacement. So their lineup's completely different now, but they're hanging the same lines, but these they're still not hitting. When you look at this Angels lineup now, it's much better than it was a week ago. Like their only really free out, I guess, would be like Velasquez, or if they play Tyler Wade, who's absolutely brutal. I don't even know how that guy's still in the league. Like that dude should be back in their farm system. But again, it seems like when these players catch my eye, that they start to go on runs. So maybe it's a good thing, or a good thing for Tyler Wade. But Mariners obviously are my squad, and they've been underachieving this year as well, right? I mean, they have not fit the bill. Robbie Ray's been barely okay. They've picked up other acquisitions who have been okay. This team is way too. These are 2 teams that are actually way too good to be this much under 500. So battle of the underperformers, if you will, in this series. I don't know though. I think that the Angels should be favored, but with the way they've been playing, they don't deserve it. So it's an easy pass for me. I was riding the Angels a bit earlier in the week, but it hasn't been fun. It hasn't been fruitful or gratuitous in any way. So easy for me to hop back off that bandwagon. I do think the Angels and the Mariners are two teams that will go on runs at some point this year. And I'm hoping to catch fire when they do, or hoping to be on those bandwagons when they do. But clearly, I was mistaken about their Angels run starting last week. I really thought they were going to go on like a nice little 5 of 7, 8 of 9 winning streak, and it just hasn't been the case. Sandoval's been really good, though. Flexen hasn't. Use that how you'd like, but it ends up being an easy pass for me. And you guys also don't like to bet doubleheader games anyway. Moving on, Nationals, Phillies. This is going to be another best bet for me. Aaron Nola. What is there to say about him? He's been tremendous. I mean, he's been great. Somehow his ERA is 3.5, despite having a WHIP under 0.9. It tells me he's like giving up a few too much in the home run category, but he's not really doing that either. So he's just good. Like, there's no other way to put it. He's been good. He's been great, and he's been doing it against decent teams. I mean, granted, the Marlins maybe not so, but look who he's faced. Like, the Brewers, the Giants, the Braves, Dodgers twice, the Mariners, the Mets twice, the Brewers, the Rockies in Colorado, the Mets. You want to talk about strength of schedule for a pitcher? This guy's had a brutal stretch, and this guy's not getting any love in the Cy Young Award category. And again, he has been really good. So, much respect to him. And the Phillies bats have been getting all the love during this streak, but give some credit to their pitching and their bullpen. Now, I know Girardi ate shit for how, he was managing the team, but I'm not a Girardi guy. I thought he was terrible on the Yankees. And I guess maybe he hasn't been as good on the Phillies either. But, and granted, like, there's the people that say, like, oh, baseball, managers don't do anything. But they do, though. They do. First of all, they're a good locker room boost. And they're also, and they're also, if you're respected by your manager and you get your team to buy in, it does a lot to your team's confidence. And I do think managers above all else, they're good at player development. Like, your good managers are really good player developers. And I don't know if Girardi's really ever been that. Needless to say, he was dealing with one of the worst bullpens in baseball. And it was like Russian roulette, him trying to pick who would go in certain situations. There was never really a right answer. And of course, I'm sure the Philly fan base roasted him after every wrong decision. But, here we are now, and they've been more confident since he's left. They've been playing good ball. On the other side, Josiah Gray, I've said this time and time again about him. Like, I think he fits the eye test. Like, he's pretty good. I mean, he can get himself out of jams with striking out folks. When he's on, when his location's on, he is tough to hit, especially against, right-handed bats. We know Phillies have a lot of right-handed bats. Granted, he gets himself into a little too much trouble. With all this said, I bet this first 5 under 4.5. I like the way Nola's been pitching. And granted, he's gotten himself into a few snags, but he has just been absolutely, dominating versus a lot of bats, right-handed and left-handed. And in this spot here, it's not going to be super warm in Nationals Park. Nationals Park, right? Still called that. Yeah. So, and we got to think, I think we're going to have some wind blowing in our favor as well. Hold, please. I mean, where is this game? With a 12 fucking 4 o'clock game? Yeah. I mean, we got like 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. That's going to help. And again, it's not super warm in this park. It's going to be 70. I just think you got two decent arms. I know there's been runs in this series. I know Philly's been smacking the ball around. Even the Nats have been kind of hitting, but to me, this is a spot play. I don't like these teams' bullpen, so I didn't want to go full game, but I did bet first 5 under 4.5. I got that minus 105 DraftKings. And again, I think the spot's pretty juicy, to be honest. Granted, if a few balls leave the yard, that's going to be a problem, but I bet it, and I like the spot. I think the number's a little off, all things considered. So Nationals versus Phillies. First 5 under 4.5 minus 1.5. Dirty Will, I touched on the Yankees game in pretty decent detail. I mean, I could do it again, but I'll sound like a broken record to the folks who've been here the whole time. If you just scroll deeper, if you scroll back, I guess at this point, 20 minutes or so, you'll find how I chatted on that game. No hater. Hater's incredible. I think was he back on the DL. I'd even been following him, but that dude's absolutely brutal. He's so good. Okay, Dodgers Guardians. So Dodgers lost yesterday. And they just, it's crazy. They're 39-24, but they just haven't felt like the Dodgers. Like, I don't think I'm alone in that thought either. The Guardians, you want to talk about teams overperforming? I mean, who the hell is picking this team to do anything this year? 33-27. And here they have Cal Quantrill. I am absolutely not a Cal Quantrill guy. I think that he's often been decent at home. But you know what it is with me? I'm such a Francona guy that I feel like Francona just consistently gets the best out of his guys. And I feel like he's part of the reason why Quantrill's looking better, which I guess means I have to kind of change my perception as well. I just think Quantrill is a guy that consistently gets himself into too much trouble, and at times he'll wiggle himself out. And also, you're in an age of pitching where strikeouts are really needed. He really doesn't strike out many guys at all. A pitch to contact guy, and again, you throw him against the Dodgers lineup, you would think the Dodgers would be able to rough him up a bit. On the other end, Urias, he's okay. Obviously, a hard-throwing lefty, but the Guardians have some decent right-handed bats. Maybe make him struggle a bit. It's going to be kind of warm in LA today, not super warm. I wouldn't consider this like over weather, but it's definitely not like under weather either. You want to get ballsy. You can maybe do a slight, a slight lean on the Guardians team total over. Probably get it at 3. But again, it's hard to love that spot. Knowing they need to score 4 runs. You might actually at this line, this might be 2.5 now that I think about it. I haven't looked at it because I don't bet Dodgers games, as you guys know. I mean, it's rare. I bet one Dodgers game all season. That was Darvish at home against them over a month ago. So, yeah, again, easy for me to pass in the Dodgers spot, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I don't like betting Dodgers games primarily because you're going to consistently pay an extra tax on them, and I'd argue they're the scariest team in baseball to fade. So it's just easier for me to look at a board and act as if the Dodgers don't exist, and I make the same recommendation to you guys as well. Red Sox Cardinals. So obviously this was the bet that we got home yesterday. Dakota Hudson on the road, though. Oof. I do not like me some Dakota Hudson on the road. And in a ballpark, it is. The weather's not going to be super warm today, so he's got that going for him. But he is going to face a tough Red Sox lineup in an environment he is not going to be comfortable in. So, yeah, don't love the spot. But with that said, Cutter Crawford is brutal. He was terrible in AAA, and he hasn't been much better in the majors. So you would think with that in mind, I would bet the over. But again, we're hitting our cap, right? We're having over at 10, which means I need 11 runs in this park. My cap here in this park, I've said this before, is 10.5. I will not bet an over at 10.5 in this park just because of the dimensions of it. But, this called a strong lean here over 10. I don't want to fire on it. Again, it's a park dimensions thing. I would prefer to have 2 worse pitchers if I'm going to bet a 10. Like if I'm going to bet a 10.5, I want like 2 AAA guys. Like we have Crawford, who's been bad, but Hudson, who's been bad on the road. But again, I need 2 complete gas cans if I'm going to bet an over 10.5 at this park. So yeah, it becomes a pass for me in that regard. Slightly an over. Crawford's been bad. Hudson's road splits are terrible. But I'll just stay away. All right, Rockies Padres. This will be my final best bet. Nick Martinez. This is just more. We can even call this a bias fade or a bias love and fade. I've been waiting for German Marquez to find some rhythm in his starts, and lo and behold, he found some rhythm. Back-to-back quality starts for the old German Marquez. I say old. I think I'm older than him. You know what? Now I'm going to check. Yes, I am older than him. 27 years young, Mr. German Marquez. But he's been around forever, and he has looked really good at certain points of his career. He has been really struggling this year, though. But I've liked what I've seen from him recently. Maybe he's finally turned the corner. Maybe he's finding some confidence. Rockies are at home. By the way, this team averages nearly 6 runs per game at home, which isn't a surprise, right? It's Coors Field, but they average like 3 runs a game on the road. So we know with the Rockies, we get their sticks. Nick Martinez is a guy that you want to talk about a guy that runs pure. Nick Martinez runs hella pure. Look, he's got good enough stuff to keep him afloat, if you will. And he's able to get himself out of jams with his K-type stuff, but he gives up way too many home runs, and you're putting him in a park. Well, let me be more clear. He gives up way too many home runs and way too many walks, and you're putting him in a ballpark that is just not ideal for a pitcher like him. It's not going to be as warm as it was last night in this park. Last night in this park, it was almost 100 degrees. It will be about 85 today with wind blowing out a little bit. But needless to say, this is a tough ask of Nick Martinez. And again, I like what I've seen from Marquez. I don't like this Rockies bullpen, though. So, yes, I did bet Marquez first 5, plus 105 actually there. So Rockies first 5. Rockies first 5 plus 5. First 5 money line. And again, I think this is more of a spot fade. And again, maybe there's some biases there because I am a Marquez guy and I'm not a Nick Martinez guy. But with all that in mind, it's just a good spot for me. I think the fact that I can get them a dog, like to me, Rockies should be favored first 5 here, and maybe favored for the game. They're not, and they should be. So the fact that I can get the dog money here and be able to fade Martinez at a dog price against a pitcher that's maybe finally starting to find his confidence. So yeah, love the spot. He's on paternity. All good, love it. What's up, Chachu? Nathan, glad you're on board. Weight loss update. Yeah, as of 2 days ago, I was 213 and a half. So call it 2.5 pounds. It'll be a slow path, Ray. It'll be a slow path for me to get to 200, but we will try to get there. It's not exactly super easy for myself to drop that kind of weight in 2 months, but that's, I love the challenge of it, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, baby steps. We're about 2.5 pounds down. We're 11 days into the diet. So again, slow and steady. I'll weigh myself again on Tuesday morning, and we'll see where we're at every 3 or 4 days. But I'm no stranger to losing weight when needed. So pretty confident we'll get there. All right. Moving on. Mariners Angels game 2 of the doubleheader. Won't even talk on this because again, you guys know I don't really fuck around with doubleheaders. On this side, Diamondbacks Twins, Luke Weaver, Dylan Bundy. Oof. Yeah, this total is massive for this park. Let me start with that. They will definitely shut the roof today. It will likely be over 100 degrees in Arizona, or 90 to 95 degrees in Arizona. So I would expect them to shut the roof. And when they shut the roof, a total of 9.5 is absolutely brutal in every respect. So slight lean under. However, with 2 pitchers like this that are volatile, it is very difficult to feel comfortable about it. Call it a strong lean under 9.5. But again, don't love the spot. I do think these pitchers both can get mauled. Weaver's a pitcher who's typically better in his home stadium. Dylan Bundy's just a bit of a gas can that's tough to watch in various instances. I'm old enough to remember when I did a video backing him like a month and a half ago, saying how good he's looked despite him not changing anything with his pitches, despite his velo being down, and egg on my face. So yeah, I don't know in that respect, but needless to say, and as far as the spread goes, I don't know. Minnesota really shouldn't be a road favorite here, but I'm not looking to back the Diamondbacks in this spot. I think I saw a comment in the chat. Thoughts on the Twins season more in depth. So the problem with the Twins is they've built this team, much like a lot of teams, right? I guess, but they built a team filled with right-handed bats and right-handed bats with pop. And I think the problem the Twins have is they often struggle to move runners over, and they've dealt with what every team's dealt with this year, right? Injuries. Their starting pitching is definitely their biggest concern. Their bullpen's actually above average, but their starting pitching is, well, maybe more clear. Their bullpen is above average when you talk about the names in it. As far as their starting pitching goes, though, it's definitely their Achilles heel. When you look at their lineup up and down, Buxton staying healthy is extremely important for this team. And we're going to talk about wins above replacement. He is arguably the most integral player in baseball as far as who's he being replaced with. And I'd even go as far as he's a bigger value to the Twins than even a guy like Trout is to the Angels, a guy like Judge is to the Yankees, just because they don't really have anybody else that's comparable, right? Like at least the Angels have Ohtani. They have Ward, who was having an MVP season before he was getting hurt, and even Rendon can heat up. The Yankees have other bats, right? When you look at their lineup, obviously guys like Stanton, Rizzo, LeMahieu can heat up at times too. Who else really scares you on an everyday basis in this Twins lineup? I mean, Gio Urshela. I think overall, Buxton staying healthy is important to this team's success. And while he's one player, he just hasn't been healthy. So I know that they've been trying to give him more days off to keep him healthy. Jorge Polanco's kind of regressed as well. He's not kind of the same player he was a few years ago. I like Arias, though. I think he's really good. I don't even think that's being crazy. He's been great for them. And Sanchez has been serviceable. Again, you just look up and down this team, and there's so many right-handed bats. Like you throw a pitcher that's really good against right-handed bats, and this team just kind of like lost at the plate. With all that said, though, I think that this team's certainly serviceable. They're in a division that's very winnable, so it wouldn't surprise me at all for them to sneak into the playoffs. But again, when you get into the playoffs, it's all about pitching, and I mean, they're going to throw out guys like Sonny Gray and Joe Ryan. I mean, Ryan's been okay, and Bailey Over's been okay, but he's back on the IL. And like Bundy's, and it's just I don't know how this team's gonna do anything in the postseason, to be honest, unless their sticks go crazy. But like the idea that this team's gonna go toe to toe with a team like the Astros, or a team like the Yankees, or a team like the Blue Jays in the playoffs is kind of crazy because they don't have the pitching to do so. So I think they've done relatively well this season, but baseball's, especially in October, it's all about pitching, and the Twins don't have any of it. So, but that's kind of my 2 cents. I think they've been playing well. I think the division's very winnable for them, but I think it's aspirational at best, or at worst, whatever, that they'll do anything in the playoffs. How about without the wallet? Oh yeah. Settle the fuck down, G-Sauce. All right. So, that wraps it up, folks. I typed in all the bets, right? Rockies. Yeah, okay. So I typed in all the bets I made. So just to recap, I bet Royals money line -104. I bet the Rockies first 5 money line +105, and I bet the Nationals Phillies first 5 under 4.5 -105. Really like these spots. We'll see if we can catch some heat. But regardless, I'll be back tomorrow with Joey Work. I will confirm that he will be available. But if not, I will still be available to be doing a live show. I may even do another live show on Monday. But we shall see. Regardless, folks, have yourselves a day. Gamble responsibly, stay safe. And as always, run pure. See you guys tomorrow.